The benefits of rural EB-5 projects. The EB-5 program was created to promote economic activity through foreign investment in the United States, particularly in areas of greatest need, areas of high unemployment and rural communities. Historically, little EB-5 investment has gone toward rural projects. Congress sought to incentivize rural projects through a provision in the EB-5 Reform and Integrity Act of 2022 that created a new category of reserved visas for investors in rural EB-5 projects. By investing in rural projects, EB-5 visa applicants from countries with large numbers of EB-5 investors, especially China, will be able to effectively skip the waiting line and immigrate years sooner than otherwise possible. How investors obtain EB-5 visas. After making an investment in a qualifying U.S. business, an EB-5 visa applicant must submit Form I-526, Immigrant Petition by Alien Investor, to United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, or USCIS. Form I-526 must demonstrate that the investor made an eligible investment. Upon filing Form I-526, the investor receives a priority date, which is the date their petition was filed. If USCIS approves the I-526 petition, the investor is granted a temporary 2-year permanent resident card, commonly called a green card. The investor will later have the opportunity to remove the conditions on his or her green card through Form I-829 and become a permanent resident of the United States. Visa allocation in the EB-5 program. Each fiscal year, the U.S. government allots a limited number of total visas to the EB-5 program, which are then divided amongst individual nations. For example, if 10,000 EB-5 visas are available in a given fiscal year, each nation is allotted 7%, or approximately 700 visas. If the total number of investors and family members from a given nation who apply for EB-5 visas exceeds the 7% per country allotment, visa applicants must wait for visas to become available. This situation is referred to as visa retrogression. Currently, only Chinese EB-5 investors are subject to visa retrogression, but investors from other nations may become subject to retrogression based on high demand for EB-5 visas. The Department of State assigns cutoff dates to EB-5 visa applicants from countries experiencing visa retrogression. These dates are published in a monthly visa bulletin. Cutoff dates are categorized as either filing dates or final action dates. Filing dates determine when an applicant can file to request a visa, and final action dates specify when an applicant can receive a visa. Investors and their family members from countries experiencing visa retrogression may move forward in the visa process only when their I-526 priority dates match or are earlier than the applicable cutoff date. For instance, as of the July 2022 Visa Bulletin, Chinese EB-5 visa applicants have a final action date of November 15, 2015, which means that applicants with priority dates after November 15, 2015 are not eligible for visas. Cutoff dates advance slowly, sometimes taking many months or even years to move forward. The role of reserved visa categories in the EB-5 industry. The EB-5 Reform and Integrity Act of 2022 requires the Department of State to reserve 32% of EB-5 visas each year for investments in targeted employment areas, or TEAs. A location qualifies as a TEA if it is rural or experiences high unemployment. Certain kinds of public infrastructure projects also qualify for TEA status. The 32% of reserved visas can be further categorized as follows: 20% for rural TEA investments, 10% for high unemployment TEA investments, and 2% for investments in public infrastructure projects. If any reserved visas are left unused at the end of the fiscal year, they will carry over in the same category to the following year. The Department of State has made a total of 19,880 EB-5 visas available for the 2022 fiscal year. As of May 2022, few investors have filed Form I-526 since March 15th. Therefore, an estimated 6,362 visas remain reserved for TEA investors and their qualifying family members. Of these available reserved visas, approximately 3,976 visas are reserved for investments in rural TEAs. Approximately 1,988 and 398 visas are reserved for investments in high unemployment and public infrastructure TEAs, respectively. What is a rural targeted employment area? A location is considered a rural targeted employment area, or TEA, if it has fewer than 20,000 residents, is not located within a metropolitan statistical area defined by the U.S. Office of Management and Budget, and does not border a city or town with a population of 20,000 or greater. In order to prove that a location qualifies as a rural TEA, EB-5 investors must submit relevant documentation, including population statistics from the most recent decennial census, metropolitan statistical area data from the Office of Management and Budget, and additional third-party evidence. Benefits of investing in a rural TEA project. Historically, the primary reason for investing in a TEA project was that doing so entitled investors to a reduced investment requirement. Under the EB-5 Reform and Integrity Act of 2022, this benefit remains true. The minimum investment for TEA projects is $800,000 as opposed to the standard minimum investment amount of $1,050,000. The addition of reserved EB-5 visas makes rural TEA projects particularly attractive. To be eligible for a reserved visa, investors in rural TEA projects must have I-526 priority dates on or after March 15, 2022. Investors from nations with low demand for EB-5 visas are expected to experience slightly faster visa processing relative to normal. The greatest benefit, however, will be felt by investors from countries experiencing or likely to experience visa retrogression. Reserved visas are given priority even if a country is otherwise experiencing visa retrogression. Investors eligible for reserved visas who would typically have to wait for a visa due to retrogression may face a shorter or no delay in EB-5 visa availability. For example, Chinese nationals who invest in rural TEA projects will not have to wait for cutoff dates to advance. In many cases, they may be able to immigrate to the United States years earlier than investors who do not qualify for reserved visas. Investing in a rural TEA project offers the greatest opportunity to obtain a reserved visa. EB-5 visas reserved for investors in rural TEA projects represent 20% of total EB-5 visas, double the number set aside for high unemployment TEAs, and 10 times greater than the number set aside for infrastructure projects. Additionally, rural projects have historically represented a small minority of all EB-5 projects, which likely means less competition for the limited supply of reserved visas. The earlier investors make qualifying investments in TEA projects and file their I-526 petitions, the better the likelihood they will obtain reserved visas for themselves and their families. Twin Lakes, Georgia Rural EB-5 Project. Twin Lakes, Georgia is a 1,300 single-family home community under development by Coulter, one of the top 25 largest private home builders in the United States. Since 1997, Coulter has invested in real estate projects totaling more than $19 billion in value, and its largest division, Coulter Homes, has developed more than 20,000 homes. Coulter has partnered with EB-5 Affiliate Network on more than 10 prior successful EB-5 projects. Construction of the project is underway and more than 200 homes have already been sold. All jobs required for the maximum number of EB-5 investors have already been created with substantial margin. As a project in a rural TEA, Twin Lakes, Georgia offers investors faster I-526 processing, meaning a reduced wait time for green cards with a 20% EB-5 visa set aside. For more information on the Twin Lakes, Georgia Rural EB-5 project, please contact EB-5 Affiliate Network today.